Welcome in, everyone. This is our flow recap for the week of 324.25 to 328.25. As always, we're going to look at the full range of the flow, kind of look at what stuck out on the contracts, just kind of look over some other little details. Again, it was a very volatile week, so we have some good examples. We have a lot of good winners, and we have a couple of losers. So let's get started here. And again, if you're tuning in for the first time, I like to show everybody all these alerts will be posted in Discord. Everything is posted in real time. And everything, I don't edit my posts or anything, so everything gets posted real time, no changes. So let's get started here. So Monday, we had the 417.47.5 CG calls. This was also posted publicly. So when we look at this, and we'll have a good example here of kind of why you should always be adjusting up stops, all that stuff. So we look at our flow here, and let's go back to the 24th, actually. Let's come back here to the 24th. So we can see this is our entry here. We had 6,562 contracts come in here at 654,000. Average fill was $1 per contract. And looking at that flow here, which should always be digging into the raw flow just to kind of take a peek at how it's looking. We look at that flow here. I'm keeping an eye on that IV and that spot price. Spot price is just what the contract is being filled at. So let's kind of come up here and take a peek. So IV staying up here. Spot price, you can see that spot price coming in at the ask. A little wider bid-ask spread here too, so that's kind of showing urgency to me. So the big part here is we have a big jump in that IV here when that floor trader comes in. You can see a big jump in that ask or that spot price here, which obviously your ask price. You can see, yeah, we stayed at 95 that whole time. I saw that 94. I just wanted to go back and double check. We can see that big size at the ask there, big jump in the IV. It's a very good sign there. So we come back in here and look, and obviously on the day we're looking at that net premiums here, and it's a lot of net call premium here. And let's so this actually made a pretty good intraday move. One was our fill here. Obviously you can see we ran up here hitting 138, kind of chopping up, kind of came up towards the end of the day, and I believe we actually hit 150. So the next day, let's pop this to Friday and look at the full week. So whale came in here, that was our entry, ran up there, hit the high there, and then we actually hit our high here on 325 or 326. So it looks like we probably would have hit it at open with that spread. So we hit that 153. So I mean, a lot of time to get out of these here, and this is why I always tell people you need to kind of be adjusting up your stops. Look at this whale now. Open those at 1. They're at 35. If you followed the whale completely, you are going to be losing on the trade. These hit 50%. That is a significant return. And I want to look at that net call premium here too. So really interesting because you can see on that day when we had it come in, big jump in that net call premium. A lot of call volume. This thing doesn't get a lot of trades at all. So let's go 30 days. Yeah, you look at that 30-day, barely anything. Little premium back here, little dip in that net call premium here to the bid side. But other than that, we don't get a lot on here. So that big spike there was pretty unusual, we can say. So these running from that 1 to 150 here ran that same day. So let's move on here. We have the 430, 560 SPY puts. Again, we're looking at that flow. I'm going to kind of pop this out too. So we're looking here on the 24th. You look at the 24th, can see a little earlier in the day, obviously SPY is going to get a lot of more premium, but this was our entry. Let's look at the flow. Let's come down here and see. So this one, good example again. You can see that IV is lower here. When that whale starts coming in here where that alert is, you can see that IV spike, keeping an eye on that spot price as we go up in that IV. So you can see that spot price increasing, IV increasing, telling us that's a good sign there. So we're going to continue following this up. So all coming in at the ask. So again, you can see that's kind of where that whale left off. This is more than likely going to be part of the same trade because you're looking at that timing there. So following that up again, that IV, that spot price increases here, and that IV staying the same, not dropping or anything. So good sign there, following this up. And it looks like that's the end of our whale in here. So let's go back and look at the trade, the movement. So again, you can see it's 5,300 contracts at 664 for 3.5 million. Kind of just moving around here, not a ton of movement same day, down a little bit the next day. And again, kind of keep in mind with the days that expiration too on these, the longer time frames on some of these whales are longer term. If you have contracts that are 50 days out, you're probably not looking for an intraday move. Now, something that expires weekly, you're looking for a quicker move because those contracts are expiring. So keep that in mind too. That's just a little tip and trick that I like to tell people. So again, here is that contract here, 664, kind of chopped here that next day, and then we finally started moving up here, and then Friday was our big move. We hit actually closed at about the high, so 1410. So those closed at about 112% there. And again, kind of looking, the other important thing here too is always looking at that volume and open interest. So back here on the 24th when these came in, obviously you can see opening trade just kind of based off that size and open interest. Majority of that carrying over, that whale's holding. Good sign there, and obviously those contracts closing up 112% there. Alright, let's move on here. So up next we have the 425, 125 AMD calls. Again, let's pop this back to the 24th here where these came in. 24th. So again, you can see here is our whale entry 102. So let's look at the volume and open interest here because this is going to be very important. So again, we had 1,000 contracts here against 600 open contracts currently. So we know this is an opening trade just based off this one little whale alone. So again, 102, these actually made a nice move up same day. So we did see some action here at the ask at 126 and then some more here at 151. So we had about, let's see, 600, we'll say 1,000 there. So I mean, we had 3,500 contracts traded on the day. So AMD obviously gets a little more volume, but to me, just kind of doing an eye test here between this one, it looks like this whale may have exited at the ask here and then some more there because we only had about 2,000 contracts carry over, so we do have more volume in here intraday obviously too, so some of that probably carry over, but to me this whale's probably exiting at the ask here, asking some bid side stuff here that same day about 151, so probably about 50% or so on those for that whale. And these actually did hit the high on the same day here, so we hit 2 here, it looks like, actually on 326. Let's pop these back out. Let's pop this out to the weekly. So so this is our original whale entry. Made a nice move up the same day, 173. Looks like 163 there. So these coming in on the 24th. So, oh no, they hit 326. It says we hit 2, but I don't see where we would have even came close to 2. So we're gonna go with that high of 180 here then. So I mean, those moving 76% intraday there. So something like that, you should be thinking about taking profits. And even if you would have took profits on something like that, obviously had that next day where they were still up and then spiked again towards close. But seeing more bid side stuff here, obviously this is going to get a little more volume, than most because AMD's traded a lot more, especially something that close to expiration. So those again moving 102 to 180 there, good sign. Let's just take a peek at that net call premiums on the day. So 24th, obviously very clear sign here too. Big spike in net call premium, big drop in that net put premium. Call volume was there. All right, let's look at the XLEs next. So this one's a little tougher to track. There's not really a lot of contract movements on this one. There's not a lot of people trading this one. So filled at 282. Nothing traded yesterday. We hit a high of 305. Those contracts up about 8% or so, give or take. I won't spend too much time on that one. Let's see, our ALAB, the 425.77 calls. These, again, moving from 4 here, and it looks like we gapped up to 470 that next day. So you can see that there. So those actually did make a quick little gap up, but again, kind of dropping down here now. I mean, this is why you should be adjusting up stops, because this whale is now in deep water unless they are expecting something big before then. But those contracts only hit about 17.5%, so 4 hit that max of 470. And let's look at that flow here too. So again, when that flow kind of comes in here a little earlier, it's tougher to read. I like to be able to kind of see flow as that other flow is coming in. But I mean, that IV was up there, good sign. Little higher bid ask there, and we're coming in at the spot. So reads as a buy, but obviously you don't know what can happen with some of that. But those did hit 17% there. So let's move on here to the 516 SPY 558 puts. Again, SPY puts, I'm not going to spend too much time on these because puts made a very good move up this week. Again, we got in here at 760 was our call, so this was our whale that we noticed here. And I'm kind of seeing a lot of volume here. Let's see if we can see. So the 24th. Yeah, this whale, this is an interesting one because we got 1500 there. That whale, yeah, that whale did carry over. I was sitting there trying to do a little math in my head. So the whale's still there. Obviously down the next day, and then we ran up. Those closed at about 1533 yesterday, up 101.71%. So AAL, we actually had this one twice. This one came in the flow intraday, and this was a flow and charts trade as well. So I'm going to touch on the flow and charts trades at the end. So again, our whale here, and again, 83 days. This is what I was saying. This whale is on a longer time frame on this, so it gets to be a little harder to kind of recap something that this whale's a little longer term on. See, let's look back at the 7 days here. So again, 24th, again, seeing a lot of net call premium here though. Not a ton of net put premium, just kind of back here on the 26th, but otherwise a lot of net call premium. When we look at the flow here, see if we can come down here, if it's going to let me. It's probably not going to let me pop over now. Okay, here we are. So again, I mean, you're coming in at the spot's coming right at the ask. You got that IV up. Let's see. Let me do it like this. So we saw that IV was up. Come back down here and look. So it kind of dropped a litlittle bit. So 51.12. Once that came in 51.77, I just got to go back and look. Well, actually the IV went up a little bit. So, okay, interesting. So, yeah, I mean, something to watch. And like this, obviously, they're a little longer term time frame. I'll touch on this on the flow recap, too, at the end. These contracts, so this whale would be down 45% on these, though. 111 was their fill. They did kind of pop up a little bit to 115. Nothing really worth tracking there. Counting this one as a loss so far. So this whale's down 45%. Obviously, 83 days to go on those. So FSLR, the 328-134 calls. This one This one is something I probably would have said you would have wanted to get out break even on. So again, our entry here on the 24th. You can see this is, I think this is the 23rd, 21st. So 24th here. So 3,000 contracts, 230. There's a lot of FSLR flow this week too. So again, you can see right when that flow comes in here, wider bid ask coming in at the spot, big jump in IV. It's a sign of a buy. Not, well, now it's going to show multi-leg now because we had some action in here that caused it to be multi-leg. So 230 was the fill. I have this. I mean, you'd probably, they came up and hit 238 again the next day. You're probably going to, I put these as at a loss at about 2 there. I mean, you're more than likely you're going to probably start trying to get out of a trade that dropped there to 141 from that 230. So I put the loss at 2 there, so a 13% loss on that one. And next up we have the IWM 516-199 puts. Again, puts making a good move all week. So 24th here, and obviously we had some more come in on the 25th as well. So you can see, and this is a good example of a whale passing off contracts. So again, 28,000 contracts here on the 24th. You can see it carry over here into the 25th. This whale must have sold these to somebody else at 310. I mean, you can see that size isn't fully there, but got some multi-leg stuff in there as well. But you can see that here, because that open interest didn't change at all under the 26th. So that whale sold these to somebody else from 295 up to 310. Probably not the best idea because he's hit a high of 629 here on the 28th yesterday. So those hitting actually 100% there. So good find there. Let's see, moving on to Intel here. Again, another one where I'm always telling people adjust stops up. So we're now on to the, nope, we're still on the 24th. So here is our entry, 2,000 contracts, 86, 172K. Looking at the flow, obviously IV pops when it comes in there. Small drops in the IV here. I always kind of try to see how much size that is. If it's one contract, a couple contracts, that's not going to throw me off. Now, if it's a bigger chunk of the trade like this, that is something I would kind of maybe make me back off a little bit. So when we're looking at that descending fill, because it's considered descending fill, that's because those little ones there are coming in at the below that ask price, and that fill dropped. But again, seeing we're still at the ask pretty much. So your whale here, these actually gapped up and hit 102 the next day, or 106 here. I got 102. So those gapped up and hit about 18% on those. And again, you can see we started to kind of come down a little bit here. Enough time to still have stops on, especially at open. Should be paying attention to trades. I always tell people you should gotta pay attention to your trades. Then we can see just kind of a lot more little action in here too. 2,000 there, 2,200 there. You can just see all that. A lot of it carrying over. So this is kind of interesting to me to see if anything major happens there. And looking at the net premiums here, obviously spikes in net call premium the last couple days. So something to watch there. All right, we're moving on to the 25th. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on every single one of them. I'll kind of touch on anything that's sticks out more. So hymns, this one again, can see coming in at 180. I got 195 as our fill that was posted. Looks like that whale probably took them off here at 59 here. So whale selling those for a 69% loss there. Obviously shorter term there. Probably everybody knows hymns is very volatile. And even that whale may have been kind of sizing out here that same day. So actually, let's see. We have 5,300 contracts on the 25th. Okay, 25th. 9,000 contracts. Yeah, that whale probably cut those same day here and probably ended up cutting the rest there. I mean, that started to drop, seeing a lot of action in here. Probably cutting those at about 104-ish, 105-ish, it looks like to me. So actually going to change that to probably about a 46% loss. I mean, you see the market dropping kind of hard and seeing a lot of volume come off here. So that's probably that whale, and obviously a lot of that didn't carry over. Okay, let's look at Ally next. The 4-11-37-5 puts. Again, nice little move here. So 105. These came up and hit 165 the next day. 57% on those. MU, the 4-17-94 puts. Again, nice move on these. 389 up to, I think we hit 771 on Friday. Yep, 771. That's 98% on those. UAL, this poor whale's getting smacked against a multi-leg here, but again, we don't know what the full trade is. This whale could be hedging. This could be part of a bigger trade. You never know, so that's why I always got to use caution. 92, I have these set at about a 23. I just did it at that candle as a loss. You're probably going to get out before then. I mean, you should be. I wouldn't do that. I kind of like to just track to possibly where I see some volume, but so we put that to 23, so I put that at a 75% loss. It should not be that big of a loss, though, on your end. MRVL, the 4-4-68 puts. Again, nice clean move on these. These coming in on the 26th. Let's pop this 3 days out. So again, 26th, there's your whale. Nice move the same session and the last two sessions, hitting a high of 679 here on Friday, 226.44%. GLD 516.279 calls these, making a good phenomenal move too. 630 was that entry for those, again hitting 1029 here on Friday. Let's kind of take a peek because this one's got some more volume in it. So that volume carrying over. Let's see, what do we got here? 590 contracts. So this was on the 26th. Okay. So a lot of that, okay, all that volume pretty much carrying over. Not seeing a lot of other volume, so it looks like that whale's probably still in. Just not a ton of volume on this one, so it makes it a little easier to track. So a whale looks to still be in. Maybe could be taking some profits off here on Friday. Won't be able to tell until Monday, though. But good move on those. Then next up we have PFE. Again, 19 days on these, but this whale's sitting at a loss right now, 33. So we had 3,800 contracts traded on that one on the 26th. Let's look. So most of that's still there. A lot of that volume's still there. Contracts look like they closed at about 20 here yesterday. So that whale is down about 39% on those with 19 days to go on them. Another SPY put. Getting very clean here. 448. Can see very, very clean. That volume to open interest. Clean opening trade. Majority of it, well, probably took some off here intraday, it looks like, because we didn't have that full amount carry over, but majority of it was still there, and then hitting the high here on Friday. 1606 was the high on those. We got 1605, so 258.26% on those. And again, just kind of with SPY, I like looking at that. Then you only get the holding tab for that single day, so I can't really go back and show anything, but again, that SPY net put premium on that day, net put premiums up, call premiums down, a lot of call or put volume, sorry. So good move there. And obviously, I want to touch on this. Again, 4 days. This whale's expecting a quicker move versus like that AAL one that was 80 days out. Keep that in mind. If I'm 80 days out on a trade, I don't really care too much what's happening intra-week. I have a longer time frame, longer vision versus something that expires in 3 or 4 days where, hey, I'm looking for that move now. So Nike, again, another one that made a nice run. Very clean opening trade, 326, 28, 2,700 contracts here. Majority of that all carrying over. See that staying there. 61 here and kind of chopping into that next day. Down a little bit that next day, and then we popped on Friday. Hit a high of 168 on Friday, 175% on those. The DAL puts, again, another good one, 234. These hitting a high of 540 yesterday. 131% on those. And again, this is just the max return I'm doing. You're not expected to hit the max. Should be adjusting up stops, mitigating risk, all that stuff. I'm just kind of showing some examples of that good flow, too, that came in. Reddit, these made a very nice move. These expired yesterday, and these came in Thursday here. So when you think of that, you have contracts. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about aggression. These contracts expire the next day. So when we look at this, so looking at that flow here, let me see if we can pop back here. It's going to be kind of glitchy. Let's see. Okay. We'll do it this way. So again, I see a higher bid-ask spread. Keeping an eye on that spot. We're all coming in at the ask. And it's going to say -1 because these expired yesterday, obviously. But that IV staying up. You know this whale is very aggressive. And I'm looking at that net premiums at the time. Seeing a lot of put volume here, and we were kind of a little positive on the net put premiums here on the ask side, but you can see those net call premiums were tailing off too, so that could be a sign. And then we had that spike in the net put premiums towards close, and then yesterday, obviously, big spike there. You can see 133, these hit 675 for a high yesterday. That's 415% on those. So again, this is what I was talking about urgency. These contracts expired in one day. You have a big amount of theta decay on contracts that expire that next day. This whale was looking for a quick move, and they got it. All right, let's go on here. So we have the 425 NVIDIA 90 puts. Again, another clean move on these, 49. We hit 78 yesterday. So 62% on those. And this is why I like having unusual whales too. Because if I'm in one of these trades, I will just keep a tab open on another screen. I will keep a tab open with that flow. And you can also set alerts here. That's one thing I like to do. I set them in my broker too. I set the alerts in my broker and in unusual whales just so I can know if there's a significant piece of volume coming in. I can flip over to this chart, see if that whale's exiting or anything. So, but it looks like this whale's still in, obviously hitting that high there of 78, so 62.5%. Avgo calls here. So this one looks like this whale's probably cutting here. Won't be able to tell till Monday, but 187 here. These only came up and hit, actually, we hit about 216 here that same day. So just a little bit over 13-14%, almost 15%. What is that? 187 up to 216. Yeah, I mean 14%, that's kind of, I'm looking for kind of at least that kind of 10% plus. And if I'm up 10%, I have at least my stop set at break even, where I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to lose on that trade. I'm going to at least break even on that trade. But 15%, you should at least be collecting some profits about. But so those running 188 to 216, looks like that whale could be cutting some here at 103 though. So up next we have MU calls. These, again, made a nice intraday move. This is why I say should always be adjusting up stops. If you see profits, taking profits are not always a bad idea. You never know what can happen. So again, this was our original entry, 60. We had some more come in here at the mid after, and this whale did not close these. So 1,800 there, about 1,500 there. So we got about 3,300 there. So you can see most of that carrying over. And these did run from that 60 up to about 73 there on the day. So that's a 21% gain. Then we start selling off towards close. This is where if you have stops on, you drop to 67 or so, you secure some profits at least. Drop at 60, I mean, you're still securing profits or at least break even, especially if we're dropping kind of that hard towards the end of the day. And especially in this market environment where there's a lot of volatility, stops should be on. Or you should at least be watching the trade very closely. But again, those moving 60 to 73 intraday, so that's a 21.67% return there. Now we're on to yesterday, Friday. I'm going to kind of go quick on some of these just because some haven't made a massive move yet. Some did. We'll take a peek. So ACHR, these came in right at open. 52 was the fill. We hit a high of 82 on the day, giving us 57.69% for an intraday return there. MSTR, this was our entry over here at 2. I've got 216, so it's probably this candle. 216. Again, making a move here, and we won't be able to tell till Monday, but seeing a lot of bid side action here in the 3s towards close here. So gonna probably assume they're taking some profits. Won't be able to tell till Monday, but again, just looking at that net premium, just lots of net put premium on the day. Lots of net call premium to the bid side as well, and a lot of put volume too. So it's something. So I mean, that made a good move there. Hit 360 for a high on the day. That's 66.67% return there. And Nvidia here, 425. The 44104 put. I gotta see when this came in. Let's see. So you're seeing a lot of volume on this now. So this one might be a little hard. Okay, there we go. So 119. Those only hitting about 7%. I mean, we popped up here and hit the high there. Hit a high there. Came kind of close in here. I mean, you'd have enough time, but 6 days on those. A lot can happen over the weekend, obviously. Those contracts only hitting about 7%. Closing up about 113, so they're down a teeny bit right now, but let's see what happens there. But those contracts in 7%, not horrible, nothing super good there. Avgo puts, again, these ones hitting, so 351, we hit 4 there. Looks like we chopped near that 4 all day and then kind of came down. So those hit about 14.29% there. Then the hood ones that came in here at close, I mean, they closed green 101. Looks like we closed at 105, so that whales up 3.96% there with obviously 34 days. So now I'm going to recap our flow and charts trades. I'm going to start doing this at the end of these videos. So let's take a peek at them. So we had 2 flow and charts trades. I'm just going to recap them in here quick, and then we'll look at the chart and kind of look at the flow. So first up, we had the AALs. I'll pop this open here. So again, this was from our hottest contracts. You can see we had that good clean flow, a lot of net call premium, as we kind of talked about in that other piece of daily flow. That daily gamma's been trending up there as well. So I was looking at this on a weekly chart. We're slightly in that demand zone here on the weekly, little bit kind of at that uptrend here. So a good spot there for maybe some risk to reward there. So we'll come back and do the other one after, but I want to do AAL first. So these were the 83 ones out. Obviously, these actually got posted intraday too. So again, this whale's down a little bit. Now I'm looking at the chart here. I'm still holding some of these because we're still in that demand zone beneath that uptrend. That RSI is obviously very oversold right now. I mean, this is your spot if you're looking for a bounce. You're looking for a bounce here and hopefully a breakthrough back into that uptrend. But we have earnings in 26 days. Remember that whale's 86 days out. So my idea would be to kind of watch that for a possible bounce here and then hopefully get out before earnings. But I'm still holding some of these. And up next we have the FSLRs. So again, we had 2 large ask side hits here, no multi-leg. Net premiums are kind of funky on this one a little bit. A lot of call volume though. So looking at that flow. So this was the thing that stuck out to me. We had big spikes in those daily gamma exposures. So big spikes there in the daily gamma exposures. And the chart here, I'm going to actually pull it up on TradingView a little easier. So this one, again, on the weekly chart looks like it's primed for a bounce. I mean, you're at the uptrend here. You're in a demand zone here. Your RSI is very oversold. So you're looking like a good chance for a bounce. Those contracts actually closed. Let me go find my FSLRs here. My 86 day, okay, 83 days. So these, oops, I gotta go 7 days, sorry. So these 115, these closed at 113. This whale's only down 1.74% on those with 83 days to go on those. And I know there's a lot of people trading FSLR right now, so keep that in mind too. But a lot of net call premium here on Friday, a lot of call volume. So kind of keeping an eye on those. So this is going to kind of be my new format for the flow recaps too for anybody that's made it this far. I'm going to kind of recap our flow and charts at the end. Otherwise, everybody have a great weekend.